Hello, humanity. Humanity is suffering from linguistic containment method that came from since before modern religions, which are still prevented free speech, perceptions of identity in relationship to what exploits grouped nations. So they're not letting the first part of the Quran spoke here or there. They're not letting the first part of the Old Testament spoke here or there. You have to entertain opinions that were only heard. For example, in relationship to this, what do people say when there are troubles? Everyone start the only opinion natures only heard victims, where everyone the modern nations are all victims. And a tactically, we have a shared enemy and unfathomed means we need to use. We could agree here. This the beginning of the Quran is talking about this. The beginning of the Old Testament is about says about science, about how the sciences come together. They have have a shared enemy. I mean, have a shared enemy, but they have a shared identity, which only fills. And so Earth fills its nature or volume and demonstration of it as space's identity, as its own complete identity, simultaneously as a semi-nature in relationship to space. Simultaneously, while the same way each individual human, see, for example, you guys all missed. Everyone says, "Oh, well, let's bring up the subject." All suits and ties here, there. All counters still stuck on faith, not because preventing the proper quality, the sequence of the beginning of the Quran. Why and how is forced. It's style of fighting needed in relationship to what everyone is already blamed and value styles now of factory nature, self-defense, that they blamed other things other than themselves, which this is completely a factory nature racketeering that put color. Now, myself, a whole bunch, everyone white wants to see they put wants to show black people that we care, but we can't afford to individually group it together, which is sick because we have the machines now, and this pathology of infrastructure was forced with the torture of our founders. Therefore, this was database relationship of sophistication that revealed this ancient republic since before modern religions about how this illness in with the human fact treatment nature, linguistic nature can contain. Not one has trained, but so peace. Oh, let's move for peace. That can't deal with the Trinity. That can't deal with the simultaneously five natures, semi natures bigger than that, and that is bigger than that. That's this is the phenomena of science, but we're not having science let free speech. So they want to debate everything out of sequence. Oh, you can't tell that my feelings are hurt, but where and how those feelings count. These are interbranch. They agree to disagree here and there, and that stays naive. A nature of identity that can't counter because it can't handle correlation nature simultaneously delicate but unceasing stronger than strong means to be connected, which is what reveals evolution's fruits and gifts or forces them from here leath of Hades. That's why we're going to space, Nate. Space. You want to worry about asteroids? We put our this identity of relationship to itself. We're not supposed to agree on the name. Like ourselves, individually grouped and together, the languages, English is an identity that has an identity of relationship to itself. And the value of that is simultaneously as a complete nature, is simultaneously semi-nature. In relationship to this nature attached to everything, nature being identity itself, an increasing nature of volume. So it's obvious per science that Allah's name was revealed by the ancients before the sciences became criminally foreign influenced. they were valued because it's a tool. The value of the species bond, of the group bonds distinctly and non-distinctly, and of the individual bond distinctly and non-distinctly. Because this values nature, which is Allah, the value of Allah, which is in nature, which is increasing a whole bunch of value. Because one identity of value progression is filling. So people don't have to agree about the name. This is the identity of algebra. This is about how this is grouped. We're not supposed to think about names. This is where, for example, my theory, but it's also science. This is why there are 1,995 days in 3 years. Wait, no, 1,095 days in 3 years. So, in other words, each trinity has on both sides of it a little piece more, a little piece more of one identity, a value progression, perfect identity of relationship to itself. The body is a little bit more temporarily positive because there's a little bit more value to a complete nature that can make more of itself, positive or negative to itself. So, for example, when anyone brings up a subject or a topic, they're leaving out predicate value. And they're not just leaving out that because this is an increasing nature of volume. Yin yang cannot be separated. The ancients revealed this republic together. It wasn't revealed by Rome as a nation, as a modern nation. It was more not just a state of nations. It was originally. It was this method of science where they're all talking about the same thing because the sciences weren't criminally foreign influence, and they knew that this is how you cause evolution. By being true to what is sequence true, one sequence nature true, the order of the finite true, onto what's going to cause positive or negative, the order to what is active, and the word is at value as a quality of diffusion. In other words, we're temporary positive but unceasingly invisible but discernible. This is why when we're speaking, we have the predicate value and subjective value, no matter what language you're speaking. See, Adam is the subject and Eve is the verb. The male and the female are the nature of a trinity. These are two natures of invisible but still discernible. Because one identity, one complete identity will only stay complete. And it can only make more of itself by being value of what is simultaneous. And that's the difference of, or is how the ancients knew that when we are not that value relationship to itself that's positive to the sequence true before us, the sequence, the order of the finite, which is the inherent, the active, and the progressive at the same time, like the people stacking modern in cities. The justifications of it. We have psychology. We have delusions, wrought, criminally foreign influenced. Specifically, again, per the method, they did that since before modern nations to keep each state and area blaming only capable of blaming, forced to, and actually right with the blame, but missing the whole thing because everyone's victim predators now. Blaming the real causes of negative value, nature progressions, acts, and natures on other things, others, and self. Acts like predicate acts. Natures like criminal insidious natures, wrongdoers, mass wrongdoers, wrongdoing. What's going to be sustained by that racketeering method forced here since before our founders, already perfected since semi-ancient times. Look at the sophistication the ancients had to reveal this republic and what is left as modern nations. That's not sophistication riding that into bombs here, there, anywhere. That's not what our nature longs to have right now instantly at using pantheism as a science about the identity of value progression. We're not supposed to agree on the name again. We're supposed to value this identity. And when that identity completes that 1095, 3 years, the Trinity has a little bit more of itself, which is one semi-nature is going to be more of itself anyway. So if we don't complete it, Leth of Hadith, we're forced from here. Each cell is a Trinity: cell nucleus, cell body, cell wall. That Trinity has this identity of value progression coming bigger than right to left, bigger than left to right, gaining its value, positive or negative in relationship to itself, not in relationship to as a complete nature. Though there are exceptions, but see exception nature, and exception nature's identity of value progression is no longer allowed free speech in semi-ancient times. Again, I say, and it's not for theater at all. Everything I'm saying is about finite, sequence true, order the active, order the progressive. We have natures of counters to overtly, it's not humanity's naturally. It's not just the reactions to what is forced, sustained since some ancient times. It's the exploitations of it. Again, built for this racketeering method, worse than war crimes method, having worse than identity theft, fraud, and racketeering method, having everyone blame the other things, others, and selves for the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. This is a trap, like what they call in America, they call suburbia. I forgot what I heard someone just use the term on television today. Was believe on the View. I don't know. It was excuse me if it wasn't you. Would just give you a shout out, as they say. So I don't know who said that. It's supposed to. Okay, well, I shouldn't be laughing because there's reportedly maybe war, and then dire strikes. I didn't even see it afterwards. Did you hear that song? I don't know what songs they sing, but that's it. The group Dire Straits. Dire Straits. See, we're our species. This is what I was trying to say. Our species is nature of volume, individual grouped and together, and it's as an identity of value progression that is positive or negative in relationship to value progression perfect that we are now allowed, and we have self-valued our stewards valuing for a whole bunch of juxtaposed other but real and actual motivations, natures, needs, interests, valuing which exploits this here or there. What really controls the motivations of each person since they're kids. Every modern nation lost to this. There was no way that you could justify. You know, in other words, everything that's not free, that is overtly not free. If you could when you hear the responses of people when it comes down to they always say we don't have jobs, everything's about jobs. That's from we have obligations originally still to demonstrate how it was recorded that this is built not to have enough jobs. This is built to have to a tactically denatured relationship to nature. Native Americans know, but see, they're forced now into that you can't. They're entertaining what they have to. The whole identity of the earth, its identity of relationship to itself is tactically denatured. They want to mobilize everyone behind environmental the word environment and make laws to hurt individuals more. You know, it's nothing for courts. Oh, it's the business. They were raised like the same way victim predators, those crazy gangs. They don't want to be like that. Oh, then why don't you just go do a career, something like that? You to go into these careers, you have to entertain what is self-valued. Oh, but the perfect world's forsaken. They can't speak it. Oh, that's why you keep those things private. That's in collusion. This was sophistication here before our founders were born. They already before they already perfected making Native Americans blame other things other than themselves while they're blaming the right things, the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts in nature, because the time and positions always too fast, too slow, getting over on. Sequence true, the order of the finite, order of the active value, progression's value, and identity's complete value. Again, simultaneously, unceasingly, semi-nature. And that's only in relationship to a complete semi-nature. And that further has a complete semi-nature relationship to itself, which is how we are temporary positive unceasingly as more and more positive or negative. So forgiveness, for example, with Christianity, it connects because distinctly and non-distinctly one and simultaneously one identity of semi-nature as a even bigger nature, complete nature. That is what is self-generating it and how it is self-generating per science. Now see how now per the Quran, the beginning of the Quran, there are unities forced, grouped nations forced to combat negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, like criminal and seditious natures against the people of Saudi Arabia, of the nations, all those nations, individually grouped and together, all built, invested, victim predator reactions only capable of blaming other things other than themselves. Then needing to be positive treatments. They knew they were going to do this because they had this sophistication of understanding our nature of volume, of understanding how it's temporary positive. For example, that's what criminal insidiousness nature is in demonstration of, which a predicate act, for example, is in demonstration of a criminal insidiousness nature. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a police form, I'm not a criminal. Lawyers also, like in America, they call it the bar, the species. But America, I'm speaking with you. Now, I'm not trying to, in other words, make opinions, but what is recorded is that and how we have fakes, the same people maintaining the fake sides and hurt with those sides. And so that's also, they're also recorded how and why they're kept motivated. Why, in other words, they can't admit it. And how you can get everyone to, which the ancient gaming system, this YouTube channel is about. Little Rap Guy and friends are about this. The cartoon series from this YouTube channel. It's counter obfuscated. See, but we need to set up pantheism. And we need to admit a way out of needing to go to space. In other words, and or that deep. There are no ways. This is zero gravity. So don't think, oh, it's so big we can't move it. You want to make sure we're safe here. The best way to do it is to be this nature's identity of relationship to itself. It's not by accident they have fake science. They have each identity of each science. All are recorded victims used from off campuses by a racketeering method that if you try to describe it, then you're describing what is going to be used by other nations against our own. Even though they're right about that, but they're wrong because all those nations together, at the same time, everyone's wrong because all those nations together are what kept them criminally foreign influence to do that. Robert Luskin, for example, many tied to him in his defending capacities and leading up to in a 2006 case. And that came about after there were these people tied to the ones I'm talking about were involved with a sequence shift. Post-dated documents from inside the Ninth Circuit, right next to the Trade Center, right before the attack. And you know, everyone deals with everything with passions, with theater and fake. And see, the alternative to that where everyone needs to react to that. All criminal serious natures, not understanding it, because our experts on that are racketeering nature, not just legally. Everyone's kept needing to hide. They've been using the branches individually grouped and together, and then every individual group and all together, all identities of the law. They knew that this is going to be an increasing nature of volume as value, increasing value. I'm not saying the branches of government are value, it's an increasing value, but it's increasingly lethal of high Ds. More and more negative value nature relationship as temporary / lasting negative. Relationship to a little bit more of a complete nature is semi-nature coming in as the value of all identities of value progression at once, individually grouped in together. And that coupled with the value of its semi-nature's value, relationship to itself. And that's coupled with its self's complete identity of relationship to itself. And the value of that. So each complete identity of a heart, all the cells that make it up. I never saw them under a microscope. I'm assuming it's like the plants: cell nucleus, cell body, cell wall. Those cell walls connected. Body of value discernment. Everything's about this body of value discernment. That is the value of physics, the value of metaphysics, and is the value of identity simultaneously. But this is an identity racketeering method again. This is identity theft, fraud, and racketeering collusion. States and areas remain in, only capable of it. No one realized how subtle, how insidious the criminal foreign influences of modern sciences are. You know, there's one culture that is not let free, allowed our words. We're not let our soul's voice. We're not let free speech. We're not let religion. We're not let safety, health. They're involved with all kinds of natures of racketeering. And just look at this VA. See now those people. These psychologists. These people they have the they have a racketeering, a whole bunch of nations against theirs against their own, ours against our own. They pretend they're against recidivism. They lie and pretend people have charges against them that they don't in the background. Then they have people do it on TV. They attach me to fake locations, attach my family members to fake locations, little kids to fake locations through time. Fake ties to doctors, fake ties to mental diagnosis, the roles with forging names, switching names, drug racketeering, military families, black and white, collusion, private drug crimes, are the ones again on off the VA. Then they sometimes they go to public hospitals like a Hartford hospital. A whole bunch of people involved racketeering acts, fake conversations, and be forging names, switching names. As people with interbranch drug cliques, various natures of courts involved with them criminally, on and off the state judicial branch offices, a Fianza family. These are human trafficking acts of WFSB. They're wire crime rolls, mail crime rules. This keeps the state police, victim predators, criminally foreign influence, former director of the FBI down. His co-defendants, whole bunch of names tied to and the extended family members, and a Phil Collo, for example, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by a Bob Chase and Officer Jerry Miller. Witness protection program. They're the same overt criminal enterprises, other nations' criminal enterprises, all involved with identity thefts, fraud, sequence shifts, and racketeering with judges that used kids criminally when I was a kid to fake things recorded, to act. That theater is tied to them with criminal uses of the courts. And then after that's already recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, they pretend other by speaking things into records like that. We have crime methods like that of the judicial branch we have to counter, individually grouped and together, there and here. Russians with them, with child sex offenders. Sex offenders principal's campus had more then and now recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. State police, Weathersfield police, his and prosecutors. They have their kids around you with child sex offenders because they attached me to. They used Governor Malloy. I never met Governor Malloy in my life. They behind my back, they're always attaching me to fake conversation things. Different. They there's a Joshua Julian also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them with overt criminal enterprises and police forms and stuff like that in the past that were involved with them criminally, and they've been lying about cases. They've been telling people to, as the doctors like a Dr. Leahy, Brendan Leahy, on not by accident. His son's got the same name, and women in their family all working in a triage. These are people with like other doctors, judges retired and standing involved racketeering with them, with principal sex offenders campus further, and with other campuses in town with locations on and off them. A Dr. Graham and various natures of various judges I don't even know the name of, associated with recording and confessed to demonstrate involved with her with the racketeering with a house/S in my area. Like again, tied to Phil Clough, pretending to know me through time just because his cousin. I never saw him here in my area growing up my entire life. In other words, Mendez, Eric Mendez police, and a Janito Mendez also. I never had a conversation in my life. Fake. He put um the name of police equipment and put me in a fake quote. He's involved with a whole bunch of natures of rape threats against the youngest girls in the campus with the principal sex offender and his roles with them that forced it. Now these are people with Sandy Hook, Newtown, also with another family tied to this. Family S. And it's not personal because the way they're doing it, they want to make the only way you could tell about it is telling it through them. And everyone pretends. Oh no, everyone says no. No one cares. That's also because of how they have the intercultural roles with racketeering uses with the databases involved with this, and they have lie progressions because they've been using the on off the state judicial branch offices, on off the state prison offices. So then they said in the news they recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. In other words, the same their racketeering roles with their sources interbranch, retired and standing, and they use the campuses of each age criminally, and they already did that through time, so they have methods perfected. Like there's a Robert. There's a Chuck Casper. I never had a conversation in my life. I don't know this kid. There's a Robert Heimgartner. I don't know what his family's involved. Whatever. There's something, but there are a whole bunch of people that recorded, confessed, and demonstrate. He's one of the ones involved with identity theft, frauds, all kinds of forging, extortion. I can't. This is this is like worse than extortion, torture, since before the Trade Center attack too, because they have a whole bunch of courts like Hartford Court, New Britain Superior Court, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated foreign and domestic military. A whole bunch of people confessed, recorded to me involved. They used Saudi families criminally. Same ones like fake sides of issues. They're pretending to record things into databases. Former director of the FBI down, tied to a whole bunch of people tied to the house slash S in my area with the Sandy Hook, Newtown, Middletown, East Hartford, all this racketeering with even the campuses they didn't go to that I went to. I don't know if they ever went to, but they went to one I did in Rhode Island. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with the Zano family tied to one of the South State Middle School has more recorded, confessed, demonstrated roles with these families also along the route that goes by state judicial branch office all the way to Cromwell. Now, see, they're forging names and switch names. If you go into court, they're going to fake things recorded into databases. They're falsifying bleep, but they were already been doing this for years, and then they lied about that and went ahead with cases. Then they just do the what they call business, what they call a job, what they call justice as identity of negative value nature progression. As it's acts and natures, criminal nature. That's what justifies what what they force glorified of our founders, that our founders demonstrably wanted to demonstrate it. They didn't have free speech; they had it forced. See, the positive have so there are these 5 complete natures of positive, completely distinct and non-distinct. And how is in demonstration of how one identity is distinctly and non-distinctly semi-nature, as the Trinity and as the 5 pillars of Islam, and as what was preserved by the other modern religions as well, and yin yang. There are proofs that English was revealed in ancient times, not semi ancient times since before even Jesus Christ was born. And that's why the A is on the left side of the halo, and the Z is on the right, the capital Z, with the picture of him from the ancient times. I believe there's a copy of it on Yale's website. Look up halo. So I have to put this in my book. I have to do my book, but you guys have. It's so scary because not scary. It's unsustainable. It's unfathomable how ill the quality of human fact treatment nature is with logic. For example, when someone tries to really be serious about slavery, it's not we have what pretended serious as justice, real sick. Oh, but that's how we keep the problems from happening. They're blaming the other things other than selves. These are victims the same way the overt criminal enterprises are, just through different weapons. This is forgiveness about this racketeering method that we keep our eyes on with what is bigger than it. We see it with our souls, and we put in place a value nature system that can afford what we're worth. Actually, we can't afford it individually grouped together this way. We have natures of wealth. We just need to convert. That's what we use pantheism for. We have to do it in sequence, though. Like, for example, like we have to look at logistics of the unacceptable. Like you walk into a house, oh, this is unacceptable. Like on the shows where they say, see this house? Knock this wall down, do this, we're putting the expansion. But this is way better than that because we're using the identity of relationship to itself. That is a nature that is bigger, right, to all directions at once. And when we connect to its natures, evolution's fruits and gifts come. These that Santa's gifts could only guide to, which is this is values course. Vaccines. It's the sciences share an identity. We have identity theft, racketeering natures. That's identity theft to the president. That's why, for example, it's identity racketeering against the president when they say that, and he doesn't know how to counter, or he can't counter too because they're already locked in to fighting at trade center agreement levels, other nations' equivalents, where every nation's again entertain what you can't entertain and defend ourselves. So states and areas stay victims, again, blaming other things other than self. So they say styles manifest in relationship to nature, demonstrating negative value nature, progressions, acts of nature. Again, already self-valued, having been self-valued in engineering of means to do it. Also, so each formal database relationship is valuing each age of fact, treatment nature stupid, force stupid, and that force sustain. And would they force smart with that is sick. Another way. They're making everyone stay sick because they won't follow mandated law. They're forging names, switch names. They use methods like that, fake recorded things into databases. Put so many different police from different departments, first starting off with a promise to appear. With a different officer too. The same officer, but that was the arresting one, and Officer McDonald's from CCSU. But then he pretended with a judge, a detective Samuda, He's also involved with sexual offenders with that judge, other judges, black and white. God knows that you can't talk to them. And if you try to talk, they're recorded delusions, racketeering natures already. They're hurting people. They've been attaching little kids. They attached me to fake locations, fake ties to people, fake conversations with people when I was a kid. So please, Mr. Lewis, Congressman Lewis, well, I want to break this game that think they can't be broke, which is not race. Like calling it racism again. That was built. Everyone blaming other things, others themselves for this racketeering method. We're going to keep our eyes on, and that because we're going to be looking for reliefs here with pantheism. Means that agree outside of taxes. Means that agree that if we put money into it, we want not through these systems. We want it to afford. Oh, we want no taxes. No, we want to fix the tactical nature relationship to nature in our nations. We want to set a pathology of not what they forced with the zoning laws and pathology of infrastructure since before cars know means to it. You know how much space there is if we have this work as a species, nature, or volume. They kind of you don't have to be afraid of things. You work together, build a machine to build paradise. Garden is a scientific value. So they have every word / value, which everything is an increasing nature of volume. Yin and yang does not leak. Now one must speak. So in other words, one thing we could do is admission, unacceptable admissions, or bottoms up, or that we don't like that one term because that's native. I mean, we'll get to that. That's rhetoric. It's pseudo rhetoric. See, we have to have discerned pseudo rhetoric from rhetoric and pseudo semantics from semantics. For example, per the victim predator reactions of men and women distinctly and non distinctly. Again, this is the secret. Every subject comes with not just with predicate value, not just ignored as an increasing nature of volume and distinctly and non distinctly, and the value of that, which is to see this complete nature's complete system, which is also a trinity, which is also invisible, but still discernible, which is also, again, tied to the 5 pillars bigger than it, tied to what is bigger than that, which bonding it, and which is the value of that bond's relationship to itself. Again, making more, it's only self-generating, it does not leak. Our identities are relationship to this before anything else. We have speculation and value progression confined with linguistics, with sub rosa, with the tactically denatured relationship to nature, and sequence true, and simultaneously, this is native pure, and it's like broken grammar school, modern nations, sick. CT is thick, too thick. It hides the seed.